Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I have something to read to you. It's going to be quite long, and I'm not sure how long I can get through it. It's hard to detect how many pages it is because it was a filing online. Okay, so this was given to me by a friend. It's on the FCC website. Somebody filed information here, and this filing was submitted September 22nd, 2016. Please keep this in mind. It was submitted 2016, and they received it September 23rd, 2016, and it was posted September 23rd, 2016. Okay, so listen carefully because some of this stuff is very, very serious. So the name of the filer, and this is public, is David Morrison, ID 1092223856297. This was disseminated, and the brief comment is utilizing 5G has enormous surveillance capabilities. Okay, so here we go. It will be abused at the whim of law enforcement and the intelligence establishment. Millimeter wave is the same frequency used by airport scanners to see beyond clothes to the naked body. This frequently has the same capability when directed towards the walls surrounding homes. It enables a view inside the home where movements and activities of the people inside can be observed. It will be able to provide not only data about movement inside the home, but what products people are using. This is a massive crime against humans, animals, and should be stopped by whatever means possible. People need to educate themselves and others as to what the 5G millimeter wave rollout will mean to all of society. Millimeter wave 5G and microwave mind control by Tim Rifat, RIFAT, UK Intelligence Forces, and microwave mind control. As a scientist researching into microwave weapons used on the general public, evidence that the GM900 microwave network, as used by Vodafone, VODAPHONE, and British Telecom, is a major health hazard and has come to my attention. Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, documents entitled, and this is a title, Biological Effects of Electromagnetic Radiation, Radio Waves, and Microwaves, Eurasian Communist Countries, show that microwave frequencies similar to those on cell phones, or they use cellular phones, can cause health problems in the following areas: blood, cardiovascular system, cells, central nervous system, digestive system, glands, metabolism, reproduction, the visual system, internal sound perception. So equipment to test the frequency and intensity of microwave phones shows that they produce signals similar to microwave ovens. 2 Vodafone cellular phones were producing 100 milliwaves CM2 and 50 milliwaves CM2, respectively. The danger level for microwave ovens is 5 milliwaves CM2, and the Russians regularly used 10 milliwaves CM2 for weapon research. These Vodaphones will therefore cause significant health problems if used. A variety of cell phones can be tested to see how dangerous they are. The GM1800 system used by Orange uses higher frequency microwaves. Australian scientists found this caused cancer in mice exposed to radiation of this type. These documents in my possession show that microwaves pass deeply into the body and can have a negative effect on the brain and body. The DIA research dates from 1976, shows dangers were known about over 20 years ago. Think about this, folks. That was in the 50s. The Soviets used the frequencies and intensities used by mobile phones, 1800 megahertz, and 900 megahertz, as a weapons. It is a rule of the intelligence community that you hide things in plain view. Getting the public to accept microwave mind control weapons, which affect their behavior under the guise of mobile phones, was a stroke of genius. Getting the public to pay for these microwave mind control devices so their brains and behavior can be damaged to make them more docile and easy to control was pure diabolical genius. UK intelligence forces and microwave mind control. Microwave weapons that turn people into stressed, confused, submissive zombies are being used in Britain's inner cities. Developed by the communists, microwave weapons similar to microwave ovens have since, in the 1980s, been targeted on inner city council estates. These weapons transmit extremely low frequency, ELF, signals, which mimic natural brain waves. As the flick of a switch, all the people around these microwave transmitters are turned into submissive zombies who cannot think clearly, become depressed, apathetic, and want to lounge around all day doing nothing. The inner city malaise found in Britain's streets, and with the advent of new ELF detectors designed by the author's research teams, the mass mind control of the metropolitan UK population can be proved. ELF signals are officially only found at nuclear submarine communication centers. So the researchers were shocked to find microwave and UHF mind control signals in city centers. The author's flat being sent through mobile homes, the BT telephones, and from numerous transmitters that dot the country. I just like to make a comment here. When he talked about how that's usually only found at the nuclear submarine communication centers. Why do you think whales are beaching themselves? Dolphins, fish are beaching themselves. It's because of these microwave communications that are destroying them. The way targeted people are assaulted in our homes, marine life are assaulted in their homes, and there is no escape for them, and this is why they beach themselves. That's in my opinion. The massive increase in mobile phones has enabled the UK security forces to use this network of transmitters to beam mind control signals into the brains of anyone living near these transmitters. Microwave phones use pulse-modulated microwaves of the correct intensity to pass through the skull into the brain and control behavior. Microwave transmitters are therefore the perfect medium for the transmission of ELF signals to mind-control the UK population. Researchers are of the opinion that the inner-city riots of the early 80s forced the Thatcher regime to deploy ELF mind control devices developed in the 1970s to turn the working class housing estates into total policing zones. In these zones, ELF transmitters turned the inhabitants into docile zombies. So successful was this technology that it was expanded to cover all major towns. Mass mind control of the UK public to make them submissive and obey authority was expanded hand in hand with the mobile phone network and military and police microwave transmitters. Now the entire London conurbation is covered by UHF and microwave-carrying mind-numbing ELF. Research into the use of microwave weapons and their use for mind control began in the 1950s at the Tavistock Institute, one of Britain's leading psychiatric research establishments. The UK Institute was researching into ways of mind controlling the British population without them knowing. The monkey submission response, whereby the dominant monkey caused submissive behavior in the underlings, was the brain state of most interest to the British scientists. Having found the specific brain rhythm for docile submission, zombie-like behavior, it was then recorded and used as a template for the ELF signal beamed on UK microwave transmitters. Britain was the first discoverer of microwave technology used for radar in the 1940s, therefore had a commanding lead over everyone else in this field. The 1970s brought a darker side to the story, with news that the Russians were microwaving the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. 1/3 of the staff eventually died of cancer from the microwave irradiation. Australian scientists proved in 1997 that tiny amounts of microwave produced by the very safest mobile phones cause cancer in mice when exposed to this radiation. And Greenham Common was the first time that the Ministry of Defense was involved in the offensive microwaving of women protesters, the so-called Greenham Common women. This event showed that the UK security forces were willing to use lethal doses of microwave radiation on large groups of the general public. Equipment showed that the women peace protesters were subject to high levels of microwave radiation. Some of them have subsequently died from cancer. Northern Ireland would have been a perfect proving ground for mass mind control technology. Research at the Tavistock Institute enabled the Thatcher government to put into large-scale use the frequency which causes submission in humans. Radiating this ELF frequency on microwave transmitters, cell phones, BT phones, and by use of other transmitters, the inner city population can be behaviorally controlled. My research group have ELF detectors, which can prove all manner of UK transmitters are being used to mind control the population. Since ELF is not found naturally, that's important, folks. ELF is not found naturally and is only used for nuclear submarine communication. Its presence proves mind control weapons are being used on the general public. The author has also access to scientific documents showing the devastating effects of ELF broadcast by microwave, the UHF and VHF on humans. It is alleged that Marconi put this microwave technology into full-scale production, and around 30 scientists and military personnel on the project who began to ask questions committed quote-unquote suicide under mysterious circumstances. My research has found that microwave weapons are targeted on middle-class troublemakers and researchers who cause problems for the establishment. Russian and American research has found that pulse-modulated microwaves, as used for mobile phones, can, when modulated with ELF, which mimics specific brain patterns, change the behavior of the victim at the flip of a switch. It has also been found that UK security police, such as MIS, use the 450 megahertz frequency used for this research, now legally allowed to be used by the police for behavioral control. A vast catalog of mind control frequencies in the megahertz range, FM radio, TV, and mobile phone frequencies have been measured, which are used in the UK for mind control and killing or disabling victims. The numbers are 147, 153, 197, 199, 447, 453, 456, 466, 853, 883, 884, and 887. Symptoms can be depression, befuddled thinking, loss of memory, stress, not being able to cope, manic behavior, schizophrenia, nervous breakdowns, physical collapse, brain and nervous system damage, heart attacks, cancer. An example was Brighton police van parked outside the Brighton Pavilion, which was used to beam UHF and microwaves at vagrants to clear them from the area. All Brighton city centers were bombarded with microwaves when vagrants congregate to make them so ill they have to flee. The Evening Argus newspaper asked the police if the white van, which was parked in the Brighton Pavilion grounds for months, was their van. They replied it was one of their surveillance vehicles, quote unquote. On Wednesday, the 4th of February, the author was passing Brighton Police Station with a frequency counter which detects microwave weapons, and I detected 452 megahertz microwave beam being directed at 2 young offenders sitting on a wall opposite the station. I confronted the police with the reading Robert Galloway, spokesperson for the police, started. They were not interested in microwaves, even if they were a danger to health. The author has uncovered widespread use of microwave weapons in Brighton by the police and MI5 as a test program to clear vagrants from the city center. Contacting researchers in this field of inquiry, they all complain of microwave-like symptoms: headache, nausea, giddiness, eye damage, ear problems. And readings I have taken show the 750 to 1,000 megahertz range is used by the intelligence services for inducing nervous and physical collapse. Microwave ovens give off 1,000 megahertz. On the Channel 4 program, For the Love of New World Order, shown on Monday night at noon, April 6th, the author revealed some of these facts on television. The presenter and researchers of this program complains of severe headaches in the days preceding filming the symptomatic microwave attack. As the foremost non-military expert, microwave weapons, remote viewing, which is psychic spying, and psi-warfare, the author became aware of the microwave problem when he was targeted. You hear that? When he was targeted to stop his forthcoming book on remote viewing being released. This book on psychic spying, published by Century Books, is the first book by a scientist on the subject of psi-warfare and the techniques the superpowers developed. Subsequent to filming of the Channel 4 program, he was arrested by Brighton police on February 15th outside their building, and his frequency counter was confiscated to stop him recording the use of microwave weapons around the police station and in public places around town. Well, I mean, doesn't that tell you how guilty they are, folks? Even though no law was broken, it appears Brighton police were worried that their use of microwave weapons on Brighton's vagrants is coming to light. The UK government has also brought up all the readily available frequency counters, these being the Watson FC128 frequency counter and the optotronic devices, and the manufacturers now market a modified model, which most probably has a digital filter so the microwave weapon frequencies given above cannot be shown. The author's frequency counter has still not been returned. With such high-level manipulation of events, it seems that microwave mind control is part of a secret policy which is being practiced on the general public in this county. As part of a covert government policy of harassing and disabling critics, this means of attack is not covered by the law and is highly deniable. The perfect intelligence device for civilian control. The author's flat is targeted with a 900 megahertz beam, which seems to be designed to cause massive neurological damage and produce tumors. The BT phone network has the potential to be used for the docilization of the UK public. A 30 to 40 megahertz signal is carried by the phone. When the earpiece is placed against the head, bone conduction carries the ELF component into the brain of the phone user. The ELF signal, which can be behavior or health, is therefore passed into the BT phone users. It appears from experts I have consulted on the subject that the digital phones have been designed to carry this mind control carrier frequency. Vodafone have supplied a mobile phone to a friend of mine that pumps out 847 megahertz signal over 100 milliwave CM2. This is equivalent to 4 times 100 watt light bulbs being turned on in the body of the user. This means that mobile phones can potentially be used to kill or so disable a person they no longer become a problem to the establishment. Another Vodafone tested pumped out 50 milliwaves CM2. UK safe levels for microwave ovens are 5 milliwaves CM2, which are not held near the head. There are reports by military researchers that 1 milliwave CM2 will cause swelling of nerve cells exposed to microwave. It is obvious that a total policing of the population by means of UHF, VHF, and microwave EM radiation, amongst others, is being used to keep the UK population in a docile and submissive mental state. Mental confusion can also be added to the signal for working class inner city areas to keep them docile and confused. A land of stultified zombies who are mind controlled to make them docile and unable to think clearly. Subversives are habitually targeted with microwaves to drive them mad or make them fatally ill. On July 4th, 1976, 7 giant transmitters in the Ukraine, powered by the Chernobyl nuclear facility, pumped a 100 megawatt radio frequency at the west, which contained a 10 hertz ELF mind control frequency. According to a U.S. scientist, Dr. Andrija Purich, MD, the Soviet pulses covered the human brain frequencies. With Dr. Bob Beck, Andrija proved the Soviet transmission was a weapon. He found that 6.66. He found that 6.66 hertz frequency would cause depression, and an 11 hertz signal would cause manic and riotous behavior. Transmissions could indeed entrain the human brain and therefore induce behavioral modification, and populations could be mind controlled en masse by ELF transmissions. More importantly, he found that an ELF signal could cause cancer at the flick of a switch. It did this by modifying the function of the RNA transferases so that amino acid sequences are scrambled and produce an unnatural protein. Mind control. Torture is alive and well in the UK. MI5 and UK secret police regularly use non-lethal weapons on any dissidents. Since MI5 have a well-documented history of hating the Labour Party and were instrumental in bringing down the Labour Prime Minister Harold Wilson, they naturally took to spying on and discrediting any group or person who did not follow their rabid right-wing dogma. When Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister of a right-wing conservative government in 1979, she soon saw the power in recruiting the MI5 to be her own secret police. During the miners' strike in the early 80s, Arthur Scargill and his National Union of Miners nearly brought the conservative government down with their year-long strike. Margaret Thatcher used MI5 to spy on the miners to discredit Arthur Scargill. Leading police officers argued against the use of MI5 on the civilian population, but they were ignored or replaced if they proved too vociferous. Margaret Thatcher was the first prime minister for many a year to sit in on the Joint Intelligence Committee's meetings on a regular basis. Thatcher, as a trained scientist, would have been well aware of the usefulness of microwave weapons. They are impossible to detect unless you have a detector. Dissidents have no idea these weapons exist, and best of all, they are totally deniable. It may be that MI5 kept this research secret from Margaret Thatcher, but the resources the UK has put into these fearsome so-called non-lethal weapons is extensive. UK intelligence runs a fleet of microwave weapon carrying vans, as well as portable microwave weapons that can be deployed near the dissident's home. This vast expense can be disguised as communications equipment, for as we all know, microwave telephone communication is all the rage in our modern world. My research shows that the microwave telephone network also has the potential to be used as a major mind control weapon system to control the behavior of the microwave phone users. Developed under the conservative government, which was in power from 1979 to 1997, the UK's secret or black government, quote unquote, has at its disposal a fearsome array of mind control weapons. These aberrant devices are euphemistically called non-lethal weapons by the UK military. In fact, they kill you slowly by causing nerve damage, cancers, mental collapse, leading to suicides or tissue failure, such as heart attacks due to the cooking effect of microwaves. Precisely modulated microwave radiation is used to influence brain function. Human behavior and reactions can be entirely controlled by using pulse modulated microwave EM radiation. Pulse microwave radiations are useful as the carrier for the mind control signals, as they are able to pass through the skull, which is rather resistant to low EM. That's electromagnetic. The massive number of microwave antennae that dot the country, some of which are used for the microwave phone network, all use pulsed modulated microwaves, which makes their use for a strategic mind control device against the civilian population in times of trouble or rioting crucial to modifying the behavior of the general population. In modern democracies, it is no longer viable to shoot rioters or torture dissidents by normal means, as the bad publicity is self-defeating. Thus, microwave weapons have been developed by the UK's military intelligence as they leave no marks or gaping wounds. This pulse-modulated microwave carrier beam can be used to carry signals. These signals are extremely low-frequency recordings of brain electrical potentials, which have frequency recordings of which have been recorded by neuromedical researchers such as Dr. Ross Addy. And Dr. Ross Addy's research at the Brain Research Institute of the University of California was funded by the CIA. In their Pandora's project, a catalog of different brain signals for specific actions, emotions, and pathological states of mind were recorded. It was found that when microwaves were used to fire these signals at victims' brains, they experienced the moods, behavior, and the pathological states carried by the signals. This means that by mimicking natural brain frequencies, the human brain could be controlled remotely by use of extremely low frequency broadcast carrier by pulse modulated microwave beams, which are ELF pulse modulated microwave remote mind control technology. It is now possible to broadcast mind control commands directly into the brain by use of microwave beams. All that's needed is a catalog of every specific brain frequency for every mood, action, and thought. These catalogs of excitation potentials are available from Russian neuromedical research institutes so that anyone with enough cash can have the same technology at their disposal as the UK military mind control groups, the psychological enforcement arm of MI5. The Aum sect, AUM, bought microwave weaponry via their 50,000 Russian converts. Particular excitation potential is then broadcast by pulse modulated microwave transmitter. This pulse microwave beam has the ELF excitation potential frequency imprinted upon it. It was found that each behavioral set in humans had a distinctive frequency. There was one for anger, suicide, hysteria, trauma, serial killing, paranoia, lust, etc. Intelligence operatives in the UK regularly park microwave transmitters outside targets' houses and beam specific mood-inducing excitation potentials at the victims. To aid them, they have sophisticated millimeter wave scanners to look through the victim's walls so they can see the targets in their homes. Pulse-modulated microwaves are regularly directed at the victim's brains while other people in the homes are oblivious to what's going on. He wrote this in 2016, folks. Just as a reminder. I know this is tedious. It's tedious reading, folks. It's not funny, so I can't make any good jokes here. I can't make light of this. This is very serious, and this is what we're experiencing. So this is what's going on in the UK in 2016. Okay, and we know that this is going on in the United States. A leading conspiracy researcher who looked into GCHQ at Cheltenham found one of these vans with two spheres on the roof parked in his road. When he took the number of the license plate through contacts, checked who owned it, he found it was an MOD van. I'm not sure what this is, folks. I'm not in the UK. If anybody in the UK is listening to this, please let us know what a mod van is. Hopefully he has found the microwave weapon system before it has done him too much harm. These microwave weapons were developed allegedly at Marconi, but when firing microwave beams through walls at one specific target, every material in the way of the microwave beam attenuates or modifies the intensity and frequency of the beam. I mean, that makes sense. You know, it has to go through, let's say in your house, it has to go through your aluminum siding, your insulation, the wood, the sheetrock. It has to go through all of those layers. So to do this, the reflectivity and refractivity of the materials between the victim and the weapon had to be analyzed in real time and fed to a computer, which could change the microwave array in concert with the changing environment between the victim and the weapon as the target moved around in his or her home. Helena Chorba mentioned this. She was a retired civil engineer, and she discussed this often. Secondly, there had to be an automatic interrupter if another person walked in front of the beam. The victim needed to be driven mad or disabled, with anyone else being aware that he or she was being targeted. I'm sorry, without anyone else being aware that he or she is being targeted. The victim needed to be driven mad or disabled. The technology for this was very complex, but eventually it was perfected. 25 or more scientists and military personnel associated with the Marconi project then died in mysterious circumstances. Wow, folks. So this is, crime does not pay. These research scientists, after they develop the technology, they all die mysteriously.